Kanika from Mumbai. If desire shall conceal true self will manifest itself even more. If desire shall weaken true self will strengthen itself even more. If desire shall abandon true self will prosper even more. If desire shall deprive true self will give even more. This is known as the enlightened nature that is subtle yet profound. Gentleness overcomes strength, and the meek overcomes the strong. Just as fish live in deep water and cannot survive after being taken out of the depths, and the powerful weapons of a country should not be displayed, just like one's true nature cannot be revealed to be seen. Acharya Pranam. In the above verses, profoundness of true self is expressed. How does gentleness overcome strength? This same gentleness has been spoken of in chapter 43. The softest of all things can overcome the hardest of all things. Regardless of being or non-being, they all have to return to the empty void to express their gentleness. Chapter 76 as well. Soft and gentle shall lead to life. Thus, a strong army with a rigid force shall not win. A thick and big tree will be cut down for its use. The big and strong will take an inferior position. The soft and gentle will take superior position. Kindly throw some light on the above verses. If desire shall conceal true self will manifest itself even more. If desire shall weaken true self will strengthen itself even more. If desire shall abandon true self will prosper even more. If desire shall deprive true self will give even more. Desire is an urge that does not know itself. It actively resists what it secretly loves. It has no depth. It has no knowledge of itself. It does not know where it comes from. It does not know where it wants to go. All it knows is certain objects, certain attractions in between. And it becomes very difficult then to take good decisions. Like somebody waking up in a long distance train and experiencing amnesia. A fellow with a memory problem waking up in a long distance train. He does not know where he's coming from. He does not know where he's going to. But he does know that the vendor outside his window is selling some mouth-watering stuff. So he's prepared to buy that. He does not know for what purpose is his luggage. He does not know why he is carrying some money. So he'll be prepared to spend his money on the various attractions along the way. That's desire. Spending oneself on the various attractions along the way, having totally forgotten where one is coming from. And where one has to go. So one spends himself fully. You have asked about this softness that Lao Tzu talks of. This softness, Kanika, is not the opposite of hardness. It's just that the ego prefers hardness. Therefore, Lao Tzu had to talk of something that is beyond the hardness. And our language has very few words that negate hardness. Negating hardness is one thing, and advocating softness is a totally different thing. Lao Tzu is negating hardness, not advocating softness. Let the message not be lost in words and subsequent translation. It is hardness that Lao Tzu wants to talk against. Why? Because the ego is rigid. What is the rigidity of the ego? I know. I do not know. I'm good, I'm bad, I'm fine, I'm not fine. I'm suffering. Even this is the rigid arrogance of ego. Even when you say I'm suffering, you insist that the I is real enough to suffer. So it is against this hardness, this reluctance to yield, that Lao Tzu is teaching. You have to understand something. Ego says, I am hard. This is hardness. Because the ego is insisting that it is. It is. The ego says, I am soft. Even this is hardness. Because the ego is stubbornly still insisting that it is. So it is not a matter of the hard rock against soft water. That is one of the images very popularly associated with Lao Tzu, because that appears in one of his verses. Soft water overcomes the hard rock. So people think that he is talking in this duality, hard versus soft. No, he is not talking in the duality of hard versus soft. All that a saint is ever going to preach would be the ego versus the truth, not hard versus soft or day versus night or cold versus hot. Though they would often use this language, tamsoma jyotirgamaya. So when it is being said that please take us from darkness to light, is the Rishi really talking about darkness and light? Just as the Rishi is not talking about darkness and light, but using them as pointers to something of the beyond. Similarly, when Lao Tzu says the hard and the soft, he's just saying what the seer of the Upanishad said when he alluded to darkness and light. Are you getting it? So there is the hard and there is the soft hard. That's the duality. When you are being hard, you are being egoistic. When you are being soft, you are again being egoistic. There is the hardness of the male, there is the softness of the female, and both carry abundant egos. So Lao Tzu is not preferring the female over the male. The female that Lao Tzu talks of is not the dualistic counterpart of the male. Are you getting it? Because softness is as hard as hardness. So Lao Tzu cannot prefer softness over hardness. Somebody comes and says, I'm very, very firm. This is ego, hard ego. And somebody comes and says, I'm quite unsure, quite unfirm. This is again very hard ego appearing as softness. It is obvious that Lao Tzu is not going to fall for this deception. He knows better than that. So which softness is Lao Tzu talking of? A softness that is beyond apparent hardness and softness. And this apparent hardness and apparent softness, I am clubbing together as hardness. Because even in softness is hidden the hardness of ego. Are you getting it? So the two ends of this duality can be given one common and shared name, which is hardness. Hardness in the world and softness in the world can be given one shared and common name of hardness, because the ego is always hard, always stubborn. The day the ego is not stubborn, it is no more ego. The ego can be stubbornly pliant as well. The ego can be stubbornly soft as well. But it would always be. It would always stubbornly be. It doesn't matter what it is stubbornly, but it would always stubbornly be something. Stubbornly good, stubbornly bad. Stubbornly virtuous, stubbornly evil. But it is very necessary for the ego to be, and that is called hardness. It is against this hardness that Lao Tzu uses the word soft. So now you know what he is using soft as a metaphor for. The non-dual. The non-dual. That's what Lao Tzu is talking of. Now examine what he is saying. The softest of all things can overcome the hardest of all things. The non-dual can overcome the game of dualities. The non-dual alone would overcome this game of dualities. Regardless of being or non-being, all things have to return to the empty void to express their gentleness. All dualities have to ultimately return to the non-dual emptiness. Is this clearer now? Similarly, soft and gentle shall lead to life. All life proceeds from the non-dual source. Thus, a strong army with a rigid force shall not win. What is this strong army with a rigid force? The ego. What do saints like Lao Tzu have to do with wars of kings and generals and armies? Obviously, when he is referring to the army, he is referring to something within you. Within us, there is always a war. The ego cannot be at peace. The ego means strife. And Lao Tzu is prophesying. He is saying this hard army is not going to win. The non-dual source would win without doing anything. This hard army would break its head against itself. It would undergo an implosion and would be defeated. Isn't that how the ego is defeated? The source doesn't have to do anything to defeat the ego. The ego, by its very definition, its constitution, is unstable. The ego, by its very design, is unstable and restless. So nobody has to do anything to the ego. It implodes on its own. It is self-defeating. It is self-destructive. It frustrates itself. It fails itself. Surrender to it is not an option, but a compulsion. Surrender to it is not quite a choice. It need not be a choice because it is its destiny. The ego is a time bomb, bound to shatter itself in its attempt to do something great in the world. The bomb indeed does manage to create a mark in the world, doesn't it? Sometimes more than a mark, a crater, a few dead bodies. A loud explosion. In its attempt to do something in the world, it destroys itself. That's how it is designed. Nobody has to do anything to destroy a time bomb. A thick and big tree will be cut down for its use. The big and strong will take an inferior position. The soft and gentle will take superior position. Whatsoever it is that tries to hold out, to retain itself, to keep itself within its definition, will be defeated. Anybody who is a self-concept and is striving to maintain it is bound to be defeated. Anybody who has created a path for himself and is sticking to it is bound to be defeated. Anybody whose reverence, whose loyalty is to anything except the non-dual source is bound to be defeated. The way of Lao Tzu is a negation of all personal determination. You determine something personally and you are bound to go wrong. One could say that Lao Tzu is a bhakti saint of the highest order. He says, any bit of determination from your side and you will receive one tight existential slap. Anything that you stick to as a principle would go against you. Your responsibility, your dharma is to just to go with the divine order, that which he calls as the Tao. The moment you say, I am proceeding with my personal wish rather than the Tao, you have created hell for yourself. The moment you say, this is my decision, and I know, you have inflicted a curse upon yourself. Your responsibility, therefore, is to decide against all your decisions. So decide as much as you want to, and then decide against all that you have decided. That's how you must answer the deciding mind. You do your bit, and once you have made your decisions, send the files to me. My only job is to cancel whatever you have decided. You are free to do what you want to do. But I have only one stamp, reject it. And that would be put on all your decisions. If you accept, I will reject. If you reject, I'll reject even your rejection. Not only are your acceptances problematic, your rejections are probably even more problematic. So you are rejected in toto. So what does Lao Tzu do after rejecting? Nothing. The one who had to do was already doing so much, and he has done what he had to do. What does a Lao Tzu do? Nothing. I'm repeating it. You do not have in Lao Tzu's classroom any responsibility. Your only responsibility is to not to take yourself seriously. Sitting in his classroom, you are not required to do anything. You are just required to undo what you are continuously doing. Nothing special does he need from you. He only needs that you do nothing special. He doesn't require your volition. He requires your presence. He doesn't want your support. All he wants you to be responsible for is the demolition of your resistances. Hard resistances, very, very hard resistances. He says, that's what must lose, your hard resistance. Or your soft resistance, that is equally hard. Like a water cannon. Ever been hit? And then you would know that water need not necessarily be soft.